Thanks everyone, thanks for coming today, and thanks to Australian captain Aaron Finch for coming and sharing some time with you before tomorrow's game against England. Again, this is a hybrid conference, so we'll take questions from the floor and then we'll take questions from anyone who might be on Zoom. So if you have a question for Aaron, raise your hand and we'll get underway.
Hey Aaron.
Sorry.
It's okay. How much faith do you have in the Melbourne weather to turn things around by tomorrow evening?
Yeah, it's been a miserable couple of days, hasn't it? But I think it's meant to clear up tomorrow afternoon, isn't it? So hopefully we can get a full game in.
Yesterday, when you see the games affected by rain and it really helps the team, like how do you feel about that? Do you feel relieved or happy?
Oh, it is what it is. I think you can't look too much into it. I think playing a T20 World Cup this time of year, I think weather's inevitable. So I think what you can do is, all we can do as a team is plan and prepare as well as we can for England tomorrow, which we've done every game so far. And I think our players are experienced enough to be able to adapt to a shortened game, if that may be, but you can't let that consume you and try and think too much about it. You can, in the background, as a sort of strategy group, we can prepare and strategise what it may look like if the game is shortened, but our players have played enough cricket that they can do it themselves on the run as well.
Thanks, Drew. Andrew from Seven. What did you think when you saw the result yesterday? Did you just jump off the plane and look at the phone when you got into Melbourne and sort of see that the group had opened up a bit?
Yeah, I think we landed, by the time we got on the bus, I think it had started raining. So England were in a great position, I think, with Mo just starting to get going. So I think the group's wide open, absolutely, because any team can win on any day. That's the thing about T20. You can't take anything for granted in the game. Afghanistan, they're a really skillful, talented side. Ireland have got the skills there. Sri Lanka, on their day, can beat anyone as well. So I think the group was always going to be wide open, and it's a tough group to get through, no doubt.
And just last one, Adam Zampa, will he come back in? How's he going? And are you going to sort of stick with the 11? What's the go there?
We haven't talked about the team yet, but I've heard that Zamps is feeling a lot better. He's been up and about a little bit. He was not crook, but he was really flat the day before the game, and we're going to give him as much time as possible to get up for the game. But he thought it'd be too much of an effort, to take too much out of him. And going into a World Cup game, you want to be at 100%, and he felt as though he wasn't. So that was the reason he pulled out. But I expected he'll be available, yeah.
Aaron, England have kind of suggested yesterday, I guess, that they left those guys, Moeen and Livingston, maybe a touch late. Just in terms of your tactical considerations tomorrow, like were you kind of aware of that, and is that a bit of a lesson for this game?
I think our side structures up pretty similar, regardless. I think we've gone with in the past we've gone with the quite aggressive batting lineup with a powerful middle order in terms of Maxwell, Stoinis, David, Wade as your 4 to 7. So not a huge amount changes from our point of view. I think we feel as though each player can play their role and situation really well. And I suppose that was the difference the other night. The middle order were able to play in spots that were probably more ideal than what we've given them as a top order in the last handful of games, I think, where they've probably come in a little bit earlier and they haven't been able to be as attacking from the very start, because there's been a little rebuild phase. So that was an important thing about the other night, is that which allowed Maxi and Stoin to play the way that they did.
Hi, Aaron. Just wondered about how you feel about your own form. There was a moment in the game against Sri Lanka, I think, where you tried to give it hell for leather and cloth one to mid-wicket, and visibly were just like, what do I need to do to get a break here, kind of reaction. I mean, can you kind of laugh that off as just one of those things in the game, or is it really a tough thing for you going through at the moment, trying to find the form that you've had throughout most of your career?
No, I think it's an anomaly really out of my career. So it was just one of those days. I hit a really nice pull shot early straight to the field, and then a off drive in the same over straight to the field, and I felt as though I was playing quite well. And then once Maxi started to get away, I probably went into my shell a little bit and looked to just get off strike rather than still hitting good, strong shots out to a field, out to a deep man. I was trying to get off strike in the ring, which is never... It's never easy when you're facing a world-class spinner like Tikshana. So that's probably what I'd change next time. I think I was probably, 1 or 2 boundaries away from being back to a runner ball, and it probably looks a little bit different there. But we identified early in the game, or in our power play when the ball was zipping around a bit, that we didn't want to try and over attack and expose the middle order too early, because then you risk going 2-3 down in the power play, and then it is a struggle to get the game back into a position where you can get home a little bit more comfortable. So it was just that middle part. I think straight after the 10 over timeout was a wide off and over, so a lot of dot balls there, but I still feel like I'm playing pretty well.
And is a game against England, World Cup, MCG, everything that goes with it, history and all the rest of it, and with 2 teams having lost a game already, kind of make it the perfect scenario for you in terms of what you want to produce on the big stage?
Oh, you want to produce every game, and I don't think no one can try any harder. That's the thing. Both teams, all the teams that are here, everyone tries as hard as they can to perform on the day, and I still feel confident in my game, 100%. I think it doesn't get much bigger than MCG with a full house. I think it's sold out with a lot on the line. So it'll be a great occasion, and hopefully the weather clears up and we can have a great game.
Aaron, just watching you play out in the field in Perth, it seemed like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders a bit. I mean, normally you're a pretty relaxed sort of bloke out in the field. I mean,
you haven't watched me that closely then. I reckon the boys would say something different.
But I mean, do you kind of need to maybe lighten up a little? Because it seemed like you seem tense and the team seemed to play tense as well out there.
I felt as though we were really relaxed the other day. The boys, when we first come on the field, it felt like we were really switched on and ready to go. And I don't feel any more pressure than I ever have. The only pressure is the expectation you put on yourself, and I think that's what comes with being a decent player, being in a really good side for a long time. Is you put pressure on yourself to perform because you want the team to win, obviously. But every team has that. Every team has expectations. Every team wants to win. Like I said, you can't try any harder to win. It comes down to execution. And the other day I was just slightly off, but that can happen. Sri Lanka bowled very well too.
There's some over on my left. There was someone over there.
Aaron, what have you made of some of the talk around your position? Obviously, it's been going on for a while, but I think AB came out yesterday and said Steve should come in place of you. What have you made of that sort of speculation?
Lucky I picked the team then, isn't it? One of there's a few of us that we sit down and discuss the team, but everyone's got their opinion. That's fine. Got no issues with what their personal opinions is. I don't read or listen to any of it personally, so I didn't know that.
Just one more from me. Australia's first game at the MCG since Shane Warne's passing. What do you think it's going to be like for the players looking up and seeing the Shane Warne stand?
Yeah, it'll be tough. I think that someone who had such an impact on so many guys, with us growing up, him being our idol. For me personally, knowing him personally and being a Victorian, coming to the G so many times and watching him do his thing and perform unbelievably well is really special. So it'll be difficult, but I hope everyone can celebrate it as well.
Got one in the middle and then Dan at the front.
That one me. How relevant are those matches against England a few weeks back for tomorrow? If it gets tight at the end when England came through those, particularly in Perth, that close finish, will that be in anyone's mind? Will it have any impact? No,
I don't think it'll have any impact. Our guys are really good at being able to identify where individually you can improve and as a team where we can improve. So that gives you confidence going forward that you know know where the smaller margins in the game are. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to execution under pressure, and that's as simple as you have to keep it as a player. You can't draw back from something and I guess hold that as a negative when you're playing a game 3 weeks later. I don't think that anyone has ever done that. You might use it in your preparation to be able to plan a little bit differently. As a batsman, you might be able to identify some patterns that England bowled at you, or with the ball, how a particular player played. But that's all in the planning and preparation stage for the game. And once you're into it, if you're not 100% focused on each delivery that you're executing with bat or ball or in the field, then the game's way too hard.
Dan down the front here. Maybe if you give the mic back after your question, guys, that'd be good.
Aaron, one specifically about Adam Zampa, sort of provided he's fit. He's had some good battles with Moeen Ali in the past. Can you just talk about, as sort of you working with him as a captain and a leg spinner, and sort of the circumstances in which I suppose you'd want him to be bowling to Mo, or you wouldn't? Like, yeah, how does that go? Yeah,
they've had some really good battles, and that's one thing that Mo's obviously an unbelievable striker of spin, and Zamps is always up for the challenge, and that's the great trait that he's got. I think he never ever backs away from a challenge. He takes it on. He wants to be there when in the heat of battle, and that's something that I admire so much about him, because he's, compared to other guys around the world, he doesn't spin the ball as much as them, but what he's got is a huge heart, and his accuracy, his cricket brain, the amount of work that he does in the preparation for a game is outstanding. So when you play against world-class players, either batting or bowling, you're going to have days where they get you and you get them, and if you play for long enough, it evens out after a while, I think, in most cases. So yeah, that'll be a key battle tomorrow, no doubt, if Zamps is 100% ready to go, which I think he is.
And just one, you mentioned earlier about how, like, not wanting to get the middle order guys in too early, particularly given, I suppose, some of the conditions that you're facing. Does that then become a bit of a consideration in terms of sort of how you and Dave want to play, but also whether you do think of someone like Steve Smith having that other, I suppose, steadier player in the top six?
Yeah, we consider all of that kind of stuff when we go through our strategy for tomorrow's game, or for every game, when we sit down and go through that. And I don't think it changes the way that we play as an opening pair. I think there's times when you look to identify targets in the game and you look to identify threats. And I suppose for Davey and I, they're generally totally different. So if there's a good matchup for me, that will generally mean that it's not his strongest matchup. So we can form the partnership that way, and vice versa. So I think that's important in a partnership, that you're really honest with your partner, and as a group, I think the longer you play together, the more you identify each other's strengths and weaknesses and threats throughout a game. So you almost, without even talking about it, you just naturally build that partnership, and you're able to almost, like, not feed off each other, but almost protect each other to some point, but knowing that that's a way that you can try and dominate a game as well.
Aaron, you mentioned you think the game tomorrow night might be sold out. I just wondered, do you think the atmosphere could have an effect on the game tomorrow night, especially if it's a bare pit and might be slightly unnerving for some of the younger players in England's team?
Oh, I think most guys have played in front of some big crowds, especially in England. The crowds aren't as big, obviously, as 90-odd thousand, but geez, they're loud. If you get stuck on the Western Terrace as a fielder at Headingley or something like that, or the Hollies at Edgbaston, you soon know about it. So I think that most guys would have played in front of crowds that are vocal. I mean, you play in India and you play in front of 40,000 and you can't hear a guy standing next to you. So we love the support that we get here in Australia, and no doubt there'll be some loud English fans as well.
Looks like we might have one or two more here, guys.
Aaron, obviously Pat Cummins has been a weapon in all forms for Australia for a long time, but he's been targeted a little bit and bled especially late in the innings, last couple of games. How have you viewed his performance, and is he still a weapon in T20 cricket in your eyes?
Absolutely is. His numbers over the last 18 months have been outstanding in T20 cricket. I think the other day he had 1 for 16 off 3. I misfielded a ball last ball of the inning, so that contributes. I mean, it blows my mind sometimes where people go with selection chat and stuff like that. He's been unbelievable over all 3 formats for a long time, and the calmness that he brings to our bowling group, the experience, it's invaluable.
Aaron, is it fair to say you need to find another level though to start competing with the upper echelon in the tournament so far? I mean, obviously the first game was a bit of a disaster. You got back to what you needed to do against Sri Lanka, but do you need to find another gear? And do you think you can do that with the current setup, or do you need to maybe rethink that in terms of Cameron Green or Steve Smith or someone else?
No, I think we definitely can. There's always another gear that you can go to. The wickets haven't been just true stand and deliver type wickets with the bat, except Finn Allen, he come hard at us and he did that, but that was sort of out of the box for that game as well. Like not many others throughout the whole game dominated from ball one like he did. So we saw in the India-Pakistan game here, there was swing and seam first up. The other night in Perth, there was swing and seam first up. So I think it's about guys batting at the right time as opposed to throwing the baby out with the bathwater and reshaping it all. We saw the other night when we had a platform for Maxi to come in and be able to be aggressive and take it on from the start, and then Stoyne came in and played the way that he did, because in the past they've played in them positions really well and they haven't had to rebuild. So anytime you have to rebuild, that takes a little bit of momentum and it takes a little bit of time. Well, there's 2 ways you can go about it. You can either do it that way, or you come out guns blazing and risk going the other way. But it just hasn't been a tournament so far that you look and you go, wow, batting's dominating ball. I think after the 10 over mark, it seems to have been getting a little bit easier, just because the ball gets a little bit softer and doesn't swing as much. So I think that's the difference, more so than trying to reshape everything.
Maxi's good to go after that knock in the neck. He's fine.
Yeah, there's a decent bruise there, but he's fine.
Awesome. That looks like it, guys.
Sorry, Cole, if I just
last one.
Last one. Mark Wood's been. He's been taking wickets for fun, but and he's express at 150 consistently. I mean, what kind of challenge is that going to bring on a wicket that is going to do a bit?
Yeah, he's been. He bowls really similar everywhere he plays, and that's obviously a challenge. Anyone with that pace, and he's quite accurate with it as well. So that'll be a challenge for our players. I think we've got the right people to take that on, however each individual decides to do that.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming today, and we'll catch up with you all tomorrow.